You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
In uncertain times, we could use someone to lean on. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma will stand by you with plan options to fit your budget. If you've recently lost your job, had a baby, or moved, you can still get the healthcare coverage you and your family need. Financial help may be available for those who qualify. Call 855-452-BLUE or visit hereforyouok.com to see if you're eligible to enroll. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company. In uncertain times, we could use someone to lean on. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma will stand by you with plan options to fit your budget. If you've recently lost your job, had a baby, or moved, you can still get the healthcare coverage you and your family need. Financial help may be available for those who qualify. Call 855-452-BLUE or visit hereforyouok.com to see if you're eligible to enroll. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Oklahoma, a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Cocktail Lounge. I am your hostess with the mostest, Aggie, and with me, as always, is the ever-suave, affable, and quaffable co-host of mine, Brad Slager. How are you doing this evening, Brad?
We're doing pretty good, I've managed to avoid most of the pregame hype this week. Mostly.
That's a miracle.
All I need to see is the names or the faces in the photo or the names in the headline, and it's like click, moving on. But yeah, sometimes
I pretty much muted. Yeah, I muted a lot of words from Twitter. It has the cleanliness of my timeline is spotless now. It's really nice.
Yeah, my apathy cannot be measured, or maybe I just don't care about measuring it, which would be apathy inception, I think. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you give a shit in layers?
That is a good philosophical question.
It's a ponderable. I'll need to have more cocktails in order to really ponder through. I will say this, though. I mean, it's like the Grammy Awards were this weekend. I could give two rat's asses about that because
I actually did not tune in for the.
I didn't either, but
I never have. I've never watched it.
I really just but people were sharing. It was actually really pretty cool. People shared the video of Luke Combs and Tracy doing Fast Car. That was actually pretty sharp, gotta say. That
was possibly one of the best performances I've seen on any awards show, really. I mean, there've been so few that really stand out, and I think that one's going to stand out for a very, very long time.
Well, that's, the thing I loved about it, too, was that they just grabbed everybody's attention. You were riveted, and it wasn't all of the damn showpiece nonsense you normally see at the Grammys, like, OMG, did you see Miley Cyrus last night? No, I actually respect myself. But this was actually, it was literally just the two of them behind a mic, and they delivered, and you were just riveted watching it. It was like, yeah, there we go. And the thing I love, too, is it was a stick in the eye of all the assholes last year that were just going woke on this. How dare Luke appropriate the music of a black artist like that? And like, you do realize they pay for those rights, okay? they don't just steal the music. They have to get the rights.
She's a very smart businesswoman in her own right. She knew how to copyright the permissions and the lyrics and the music.
She's got
everything.
The publishing rights, so she actually had to approve his usage of it. She gave him full permission. She was all on board with it. She reaped the benefits of it. The thing shot to #1. She became the first black songwriter to be #1 on the country charts. That got lost in all the upheaval. She made a crap ton of money off of it, and
everybody forgets that part.
She was quite happy.
And she was happy up there. That was another thing. She was happy, and for me, at the end, when Luke actually, just bows to her like in reverence, how he is. He's like, "This is like the greatest thing for me," and she just kind of smiled at him and just like looked a little embarrassed. That, she's always been a very humble person when it came to her artistry.
Yeah, singing.
Because a lot of, she doesn't have a lot of hits, but she is so well known for what she has written and everything that she has produced, everything that she's put out there. And I myself have a few of her CDs, and I enjoyed the hell out of everything that's on the CD. I admit, I have CDs of people that most people would like, you own that? Like Indigo Girls? Things like that. But the thing is, sometimes, the lyrics just hit you and you're like, that is a song that I need to, it's an instant classic type of thing. And so you just grab it. And she has quite a few of those. And a lot of people don't know that because they only know that one song, And it's kind of a disservice to her because she is a very, very talented songwriter.
I'll tell you what really chaps my ass the most about it. And this really, I think, is a great emblematic example of just how dumb shit woke culture is. Because when you have this knee-jerk reaction, you have to be offended. You have to find a problem. You have to, highlight something. It completely undercuts what's taking place. So when Luke is doing this, he's exposing this song to a completely new generation.
A completely new genre.
Yes.
So,
new facet of the industry. He's benefiting the songwriter and artist tremendously in the process, paying homage to her. I mean, he's always brought her up. It wasn't like he was pretending this was his hit. He was, it was a song he loved.
He even made sure to keep all of the lyrics hers. He didn't change any of the lyrics to fit the fact that it was a man singing the song.
Yeah, he was still singing from the female perspective in the song. And
because to him that was important.
And this was a song he had long performed in concert before he recorded it. So that shows you his affection for it. And everything about this, you can just, there's so much great here. You're bridging so many things. Black artist, white artist, folk genre, country, female, male. I mean, you name it. You can have that divergent connection taking place here. And all they wanted to do was piss and moan and bitch. And that doesn't affect them. It doesn't impact their lives in any capacity outside of, I hate him. Fine, turn it off. Shut up. Done. You don't have to involve yourself. And this is just what burns me so much about woke cultures. It's what they're complaining about. You can actually heal if you go in the other direction. All this racial tension. Well, how about the fact that it's a black artist and a white artist? How about a male, female? Let's look at that stuff. Let's look at the bringing together instead of this,
I'll be honest.
to drive a wedge into this.
I'll be honest. I've followed her career since, the 80s. I just now realized after the kerfuffle with Luke Combs that she was gay. I had no idea. I really didn't.
Yeah, for some reason I did know that, or at least suspected and didn't care. It was one of those. It never really impacted me. I mean,
but she never actually made a point of putting that forward. And that's one of the things I liked about her as an artist. It's her business. She doesn't need to share it with the world. She's fine. I have no idea what her politics are. I did not know her sexual orientation, nor did I care.
Well, and it has absolutely no bearing on the song.
It doesn't. And everybody that was criticizing Luke Combs for it was bringing it up. And I'm going, she's gay? Really? I had no idea. None. Absolutely no idea. Nor did I care. I still don't care.
Yeah.
And it says more about the critics than it does about her.
Oh, it absolutely does. And it's just, this is the part that just frosts me every time, too. It's just, when I watch that performance, it was, just up front, great performance. And then bring in all of the other elements to it, and every single one of them is great. There's all these connections that are being made, all these bridges that are being built there. And these assholes, the woke culture sons of bitches, just have to drive wedges. And it just... That's the part that infuriates me. What they bitch about, they can help fix, but they don't want to. They need the grievance. And it just... I'm so sick and just tired of it all. When people start bitching and moaning about that, I got zero tolerance anymore.
Yeah,
I had some guy this morning started barking about private schools teaching Christianity and indoctrinating the children. It's like, all right, first off, don't send your kids to school there. Right, how about that? Problem solved. I mean, people just can't help themselves. Oh, they see something they don't like, they have to fix it. And I just chapped his ass by posting a picture of a classroom that just had the entire chalkboard covered in gay pride stuff. It was surrounded by all these books that are gay centric. I didn't see math, geography, science anywhere in this photo. And I just said, yeah, good thing they don't indoctrinate in public schools, right? And he just loses his shit on me. Oh, you don't have to go there. This doesn't affect you. I was like, how does people going to Christian school affect you? That's it. I'm done. Bye. It just cracks me up that people are like this. You don't have to be.
It's sad.
You don't need this, okay? If something's going on you disapprove of, you're allowed to turn around. You're just, how dare people over there doing stuff? Just, it's why I love covering the press. They do the same thing. But, this is just like the Grammys, like I said at the start. I just don't watch them. I don't sit there and bitch. How dare they do this? I go somewhere else. I do something else on. I watch a show.
I said,
it's as easy as that.
I've never actually sat down and watched the Grammys. I've never actually been interested. And then when they had the Latin Grammys, I was even less interested. Even when Selena was winning all the Grammys,
But Aggie, you're supposed to.
They couldn't make me care. I'm sorry. They tried. I will not deny that. They did try. They tried really hard, especially my family. But I just said, I'm still not watching.
Lisa, you're supposed to watch these because you're supposed to go watch these. These are your people. This is your music.
The weird thing is, I had gone to see Selena y Los Dinos several times, because she would perform in the Valley a lot, and she was from Corpus, so of course she went down to the Valley a lot. And it's Tejano music, so that's very popular where I grew up, and when the Mercedes Livestock Show and Rodeo, she was always a headliner there. You know, when she first started out.
Was the headliner at the Mercedes Live Shop. Show.
Y'all think it's Ricky Dick, but it's actually a really big livestock.
No, I know. I love that
show. So, but you know, she became a headliner in Houston for the Livestock Show and Rodeo, and then, you know, I mean, and we're talking, she superseded Garth Brooks. You know, she was bigger than he was.
Excuse me, he's got a song called Rodeo, so pardon me.
But, you know, I was never really interested. I never had any interest in the Grammys, because to me it was like every award show, a popularity contest. And most of the time, the music that I really liked was not even up for an award or anything. But my sister...
Well, I'll tell you what lost it for me, because, you know, back in the 80s when, you know, I was younger and just coming out of school, and, you know, music was everything back then. So I would watch it by rote, had my Rolling Stone subscription and all that.
Oh, dude. Okay, I had one too when I graduated from college.
Okay, so, yeah. But my defense, this is back in the PJ O'Rourke days. So
yes, exactly. That's bingo.
I was like, how the hell they let this guy in here? And I was like, and I started reading. It was like, this guy, I love this guy. I'm not supposed to, but I do. And no, but I was watching Grammys one year, and the first year they had the introduction of the heavy metal category, or hard rock, one of those. I forget how they called it. Mm-hmm. The winner was Jethro Tull. And it was like, you know, the categories coming up, and, you know, and I was into that was me at the time, rock, you know, Def Leppard, Van Halen, all that. That's what I listened to. I was like, all right, let's go. And Jethro Tull, it's like, what, a flute guy? What? Did he even have an album? Does he even have a guitar in the band? What the hell?
I never understood. To this day, I really don't care for Jethro Tull, and for the life of me, I don't understand what the attraction is. I like music. I like flutes. Don't get me wrong. I just don't see it. It doesn't click in my head.
I don't care one way or the other, but I was like, wait, this is what you people think heavy metal. Okay, you don't need me.
But my sister, she said, okay, I am not a Miley Cyrus fan, but her performance at the Grammys was actually pretty funny, and you got to watch it. And I was like, I didn't like her as Hannah Montana. What makes you think I'm going to like her? And she's like, just watch it. And so I was like, okay, fine, I'll watch it. And so I watched it, and she did a good job, which, you know, with minimal fuss, because it was just her performing, and the band was like, well behind her on a upper stage. So it was just her on the lower stage. There was no light, you know, smoke show or anything like that. It was just her in her little skimpy outfit or whatever. But she happened to win the Grammy for her song Flowers. So she starts singing the song, and then she looks at the audience. Don't pretend like you don't know the lyrics to this. And she keeps singing it. Okay. And, you know, you could hear people laughing. And then there's a part where she says, you know, I can buy myself flowers, you know, whatever. I can buy myself flowers. And then she starts yelling, because I just won my first Grammy. Woo! I about lost it right there, because she actually kind of lampooned herself, and she just jumped around, and she was just shaking her head going, wee, you know, that kind of thing. And everybody started clapping and laughing and everything. So she did a really good job. So I'll give her props for that.
Sounds very unprofessional.
It was far more professional than what I'm used to hearing about the way she performs. So I actually have to give her props for that. But she must have gone through like 4 or 5 different costume changes, because when she, you know, on the red carpet, she was wearing that gold Egyptian looking thing with the whole Thunderdome vibes. And then when she performed, it was a more disco-esque type of dress. And when she accepted, it was a totally different dress. And I'm like, who has the energy to be changing all the time? Honestly, if I were up for a Grammy and I was supposed to entertain people, and I was one dress, one outfit, And it would have to be like stretchy, like terry cloth or something, because I want to be comfortable. I just can't deal with this fancy shit that people wear anymore. And I'm a girly girl, but I mean, like, if I have to do all that, no, no, just mail me the Grammy if I win. Y'all have fun. Okay.
Well, I suppose we have to mention it.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Taylor Swift won Album of the Year. It was the fourth one ever. She just had a brand new record. Only artist to win 4. Don't give a shit.
You know, and it was funny because I was looking at all of the red carpet dresses, and there were some that were just like, ew, and some that were like, wow, that's tasteful and very pretty. And some were like, okay, that's kind of iffy, but I'll give them props for trying, you know, that kind of thing. And then I saw her dress, and in one, if she stands with her left hip out, it looked fantastic. If she stood towards the front, staring at you, it looked lopsided. And from the back, it was just a hot mess. And I'm like, I can dress you, Taylor. I can dress you for free, and you will look great.
So, Taylor, who are you wearing tonight? Picasso?
It was pretty much it. I was like, who dressed you? Because it was a corset back. You know, it tied all the way down, but it was like made. The corset ties were part of the design, so they really stood out. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't look right with all the bunching on the bottom. And her dress was not that great. Everybody thought that it was great. It was wonderful. Blah 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 blah. Only in one angle did the dress look right. From the back, it's just hot mess. Total hot mess. So
I love that.
5 out of 10.
I didn't see it, but I saw this. Jay-Z apparently came very close to having his own Kanye moment because he was talking about how his wife Beyonce has won more Grammys than anybody, but she's never won an Album of the Year.
Oh boy.
And it's, this is popularity contest. Okay, well, you just denigrated your wife winning a record amount of awards then.
So they don't
realize that. So, but it's, you know, yeah, but we had to do Taylor because, yes, it's Super Bowl week.
Oh, but before we go to that, we need to give a tribute too. A very dear singer passed away today.
A real
yesterday.
A real artist.
An actual true artist passed away yesterday. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to take it away from her. She really is talented. She writes all her shit, and she's a really good businesswoman when it comes to that. So I'll give her props.
She ain't no
But
Toby
his songs meant a hell of a lot more than just men bashing. So he wins in the writing category. And, well, you know, everybody knows. We're talking about Toby Keith, who passed away yesterday at the, in my opinion, young age of 62. From stomach cancer.
He surrendered to stomach cancer, unfortunately. He just made a comeback. He was at one of the country music award shows
CMA.
or performance shows, one of them recently. And, you know, he's on stage and singing. Sounded just like him. And it's just like, damn, son, great. I was hoping he was on the mend, on the recovery side of things. But sadly, yeah, he did pass. But this is a guy with a catalog. I mean, I'm sorry. Even if you don't like him necessarily, there's got to be a song out there of his you like.
Definitely.
I mean,
definitely.
It's just that kind of guy. I mean, whether it's, you know, I mean, Beer for My Horses is a loved one. Got to go with that.
Well, I love that video because Cora Nimick is in it. That's my favorite part.
But it's just a great sentiment too, though. It's just, you know, it's like,
that
stop screwing around and let's just take care of business, you know, that kind of thing.
It caused a ruckus because when he was going to perform in the Super Bowl, he was told he could not perform that song because of the overtones of vigilantism, and so he was like, "But it's my number one song right now. How can I not perform it?" No, sorry, you can't. We don't want to glorify. I love we don't want to glorify violence at a football game.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Yeah. We're the whatever.
The only thing more ridiculous is if, like, they said you can't do that at a hockey game.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. That was utterly ridiculous. But
I mean, the guy just was it. I mean, he kind of got launched during the Dallas Cowboys' last heyday too, because I Want to Be a Cowboy came out right at the same time, and that just fit. And it's just like, well, who the hell is this guy? That's some sharp stuff. But he just, I mean, delivered. I mean,
he
constantly.
And everybody knows that his politics tended to lean left, but he was very much solid American. I mean, he really did believe in it.
I think he was like Democrat by name, like just left of center. He wasn't exactly.
No, he wasn't all the way there. No,
I think he probably voted that way, but he wasn't. He wasn't hyperactive either politically. It wasn't like you kind of had to kind of seek it out to figure out where he comes from, because otherwise, it was just pro-American, pro-troops, all that, and you never really got that left-wing hypersensitivity out of him or anything of the sort. So
no, and
I respect
and
him for it.
To be fair, he gave us Taylor Swift, so there's that too. But
my personal favorite with him is God Lover.
Love
that song to death. You put that on, it's like, sorry, got to go to 10. Everybody just back the hell out. It's going to 10.
I love that song too.
The opening guitar riff, and then it's just run it.
It is. It's a great song. I've been awarded that song many times by family members, and I'm like, what's that supposed to mean? But okay.
Wait, awarded it? Explain that to me.
Well, it's too long to explain, but sometimes, it's like if a song comes on or whatever, oh, this is so you, that kind of thing. And my sisters, and most of the time the songs that they throw at me are like total shade, but that one really stands out. So that's okay. I'll let that one slide.
I have to ask further because I'm trying to find the connection. Only because this is
I know
a preacher's daughter who hooks up with the bad guy and they take a motorcycle cross country and she ends up saving him in the end. But
that's the part.
Oh, is there a bad guy or something in your past?
I have been known to actually help people that have been in trouble in my family to where they actually do recover, go to rehab, become better. That's why. But yes, not the bike part. I don't.
Okay. So you were baptized in 30.
I've been on a motorbike once, and that was enough. So never again. I just can't.
Oh, girl, I gotta take you out for a ride sometime then.
I'll be like screaming.
No, but you fit perfectly on the bitch seat. Come on.
Wow. Okay. If that's not shade, I don't know.
That's what it's called. I wasn't making judgments.
I know you. But there are several levels to your, implication there. So we both know this.
Layers.
But anyway,
well, it was a loss, and when it came across, it's like first thing in the morning too, and it's like, son of a bitch. Yeah.
I told you this morning. He holds I'm not a country music lover. I like the old stuff. So George Strait, Randy Travis, the ones that were more bluegrassy, more country than what the crossover stuff, that kind of thing. But Toby Keith was very fond of the military, and he often went overseas on tours to our, Afghanistan and Iraq. And I think he did a couple in Kuwait as well, and did concerts for our military while they were deployed. And I'm very fond of him because February of 2007, he did a benefit concert in San Antonio. And some of you may or may not know, my husband served in the military for a long time. And we went to that concert, and the following day, my husband was going to be deployed. And it was the most, and I kid you not, it was totally red, white, and blue. The background, everything was red, white, and blue inside the Alamo Dome.
Right?
Yeah, it had to be. But I mean, everybody there was a member and a spouse of military. And so we were, screaming and yelling, and everybody was having a great time and everything. And he opened with Red, White, and Blue, and he closed with the Taliban song. And when the Taliban song came on, I mean, the whole crowd just erupted. Everybody was just screaming and interrupting because that's
kind of rude. These guys are trying to perform, and you're like,
well, yes and no, but it drove home the fact that about half of the people that were attending were actually deploying the following day. And
it's got.
If I recall, only of the people deploying, a third were going to Iraq, the rest were going to Afghanistan. And it was, it kind of like drove home the fact that I'm saying goodbye tomorrow and it might be the last time, So, luckily for me, my husband was wounded overseas, but he came back. So that's okay. But it meant a lot that was our last night before he left for, overseas. And, every time the songs would come on, it would help, so I got used to listening to a lot of Toby Keith while my husband was gone.
And then I have a similar touching story because I saw him in concert too, and I had beer. I got nothing.
But, and like I said, I was not the only one who was saying goodbye to my spouse that day. And several of us, would get together every so often and talk about the deployment and, catch up on what they were doing down range. Because, sometimes they couldn't talk to us for a whole week. And when they could talk to us, they couldn't tell us what was going on. If something happened downrange, we would pray that rear detachment was not calling. We did not want to hear from the Red Cross, so it was, and every time one of his songs would come on, it was very poignant. But it also served to remind us that there were people that were taking care of us somewhere, that were fighting for freedom. And Toby Keith actually helped a lot with that in his own way with his music. And I will never, ever forget that.
No, he was definitely great for that. And you gotta respect it because it was genuine too. I mean, he toured overseas over there. He performed for troops. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that makes a difference. And all I'll say is this: I saw a hell of a double bill. Him and Trace Atkins.
Get out.
Yeah.
Really?
Outdoor concert too. It was we have a amphitheater about an hour north of us here. They were together. It was like, it's like, we gotta go. There ain't no way I'm missing this show. So yeah. My boy Trace and then Toby, and then they came out and sang a couple together. It was really cool show. But he's gonna be missed. I will say that. But lasting legacy. I mean, there's no shortage of songs of his, so that's cool.
Admittedly, there is one song that I think maybe I've heard half of only once.
Oh?
Red Solo Cup.
Yeah, that one. Jeez.
That's the one that I think I heard like maybe a couple of verses, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think so, and I haven't heard it since. And
stop it! How have you?
I'm not even kidding. I don't know how it was. It was almost like Whamageddon. I actually have avoided that song this whole time.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Don't populate bars and taverns as much as I do, because I mean, Red Solo Cup just comes on, and it just,
honey,
if anybody even puts it on, the entire place is singing that song. It's just that ridiculous, and I'm not a huge fan of it myself, but it just, yep.
No, look where I live. What tavern? What bar? I'm lucky if the diner's open until 8:00.
Oh, you got to get urban life in your
I know
realm. Holy crap. But well, speaking of Taylor Swift, unavoidable. It's just permeating. Talk about needing to flush the inner tubes this week. Whoa. Her and Kelsey, you just can't get away from it. I've tried. I've failed. It happened.
It's like it's now part of the culture. I'm so deeply sorry to say that. You have no idea. Coming from an anthropologist, that's really, really bad. But yeah, it's part of the culture now.
Now, I will say this. I'm somewhat surprised that there hasn't been one of those cute hybridized nicknames for the couple. And if there is, please don't tell me what it is. I don't want to hear it. But I've yet to hear it, so it can't be that prevalent. But
Kel Swift?
Bitch, please.
I don't know. I was just making that up.
Okay, but still, stop. Don't even put that on the web because I don't want that to become a thing, credit or not. So the springboard of all this nonsense was last week when allegedly, supposedly, rumoredly, the right wing was losing its ever-loving mind with conspiracies and claiming that the NFL put these two together as completely fabricated and faked and all to get Joe Biden elected. Man, these conservatives are crazy nuts. Where are they coming up with this crap? New York Times. Got the article right here, guys. It says Joe Biden and the White House are supporting Taylor Swift to support him. How about that for a reference point, maybe? No, you people are crazy. Nobody's talking about this. So, yeah, that's been the case all last week.
That is uber ridiculous.
Conservative media is going crazy. Meanwhile, left-wing media or I'm sorry, legacy media. Oh my God, did you know, like, American Airlines has a flight number that's her album? 1989. It's so awesome, isn't it? This is cool. This is okay. This is acceptable journalism in your book, but God forbid anybody on the critical side of it say something. Jeez. Well, and I think, who was it? I think it was the New York Times that put it out.
Yes, it was.
They had the story.
On the haircut.
The number one haircut in America right now is the Kelsey. I wanted to punch a ferret in the neck when just because I had that come across my feed. That headline came across. I was forced to read those words. You sons of really. The Kelsey fade is the number one haircut choice of men in the country right now. And this wasn't even the dumbest part of this story.
No, it was not.
So while people like myself are grinding our teeth going, are you fucking good? You call yourself a journalist and you wrote those words out and your editor said, run it. Okay. This comes out and other people were upset by this. Not for the same reason I was upset. Not because I'm seeing journalism swirling the bowl at the moment. No. How dare they say Travis Kelce invented the fade? That's a 15 to 30-year-old haircut from black culture that they're appropriating. So says Jamil Hill of The Atlantic. A few things here, Ms. Hill, if I can call you that, because I don't want to be racist and say something sexist otherwise. For one, the New York Times did not say he invented it. They just said his haircut is being ordered by name in barbershops across the country right now. So there you go.
That's it. That's all they said.
Nobody said he invented it. He's not claiming he did so. People just say, I want a haircut like Travis Kelce so I can start dating somebody like Taylor Swift. That's what I want to happen in my life right now.
God, please don't ever do that again.
I wish I thought of that last week when I got a haircut, too. It's like, yeah, have you seen any football lately? Because Taylor Swift's boyfriend's got this haircut that I totally want. God, you got to do it to me. Honestly, that if any conversation like that ever leaves my mouth, you have permission to take a hot glue gun with curling iron and shove both of them in my neck. Yeesh. But yeah, this is the thing. So Jamil Hill is upset about this. Oh, you're appropriating black hair culture. She actually said this. How do you write that without any cultural sensitivity or knowledge of hair culture?
God.
All right. Second thing, Jamil.
I'm rubbing my
The
temples.
high top fade is, I'm pretty damn sure that originated in the military back in, I don't know, ever.
Yeah,
Whenever hair
it
clippers were
was.
invented.
Now they tried to differentiate a military haircut from a fade, and I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. I have actually given military haircuts; they are fades. It's just that the term fade was something that was co-opted in a different area. I mean, it's just outside of the military. Military, it's high and tight. And she would say, no, a high and tight is totally different because it's completely bald. And I'm like, no, it's not. I know, because I literally take the clippers and you run it straight up. So it looks like when you're done, it looks like a fade. A lot of, if it were completely bald on the side, it would look really weird. It would look really weird. So it's like a straight, you go straight and then, you just keep going up, not following the curvature of the skull. So it does look like a fade. It is a fade. And I got into it with somebody in a group and they kept saying, no, it's totally different for black men. And I'm not, and I'm like, I don't care if it's totally different for black men. I'm just trying to explain to you what a military haircut is, what a high and tight is. And she was like, no, you're saying it wrong. And it's like, well, considering I've given those haircuts, at least for the past 30 years, I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about. And I mean, and apparently my experience meant nothing because I was not a woman of color. Well, imagine their surprise when I did say that I was a woman of color. And then they were like, well, you're the wrong color. So I have no opinion unless I am a black woman, apparently, when it comes to this. And I'm like, and the whole thing about it being cultural appropriation was a complete joke. And you pointed something out about Jamel when she was bitching about it being cultural appropriation. And I died laughing because I had to actually click on her Abby to look at it.
Yeah, she's
And I was screaming in my head.
So there she is, barking about this, how we're appropriating black hair culture. While her Twitter profile sports a photograph of her with long blonde hair. Ms. Hill, I have questions. I just threw it in chat, so you can verify that I'm not talking out of my comb. Irrelevant. Yeah, she's got blonde hair while she's complaining about Travis Kelce having a fade from the black culture. Thank you for your contribution to this discussion. You're now excused, Ms. Hill. I swear.
I was laughing so hard about that. I was literally in tears when I saw her face. I mean, her hair, because I'm like, okay, why are you blonde? I did not understand it at all.
The only thing worse is Joy Reid currently sporting a blonde, and it's not even
no, she looks like Donald Trump.
That's the funny part. And I even saw somebody did a mock-up where they put his hair on top of her head, and it wasn't that big of a difference. Well, it's hilarious. But this is the.
You know how I feel. Yeah, you know how I feel about that whole cultural appropriation shit.
But again, see, this is the same thing. It's the same mentality of driving the wedge. It's like, why can't you be happy other people are embracing your culture? Why can't you be happy people are saying, that's cool, I want that too. That means it's hip. It means it's... No.
Well, you remember when the movie 10 came out and Bo Derek was sporting cornrows.
Right.
Every single black woman I knew. And I'm in an area where there are not a lot of black women, but they thought it was great. They thought, oh, wow, they love our hair. This is great. And then I started thinking, it's not really your hairstyle either. Okay.
Go to the Caribbean. You're going to see white women doing this. MD, you're on the cruise right now, all right? You're going to probably, might encounter this while you're on the island at one of the resorts. White women do this all the time when they go there.
Puerto Rican women too. Cuban women that I know have done this many, many times. And it is labor intensive, which is why it costs a lot of money to get it done professionally. But it lasts you for weeks, and it's great. It's very easy maintenance. And in a hot climate, oh my gosh, yeah, you want something like that. You do not want your hair everywhere. Trust me, especially in a very tropical, very humid, warm climate. So, but I distinctly remember women cheering about the fact that Bo Derek, a white woman, was sporting what up to then had been a very popular black hairstyle. They thought that it was great because it showed that it was that their aesthetic was acceptable outside of race. And I was like, I just thought it was pretty. I thought it was cool. I thought it was like, I wanted those beads so badly, Brad. I could not can't tell you how badly I wanted beads in my hair because they're all like, ding, 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 ding. They just clinked and you could change the beads to match the colors of your, team and all this stuff. I mean, I saw a lot of girls actually wearing that in school, and if you couldn't afford it, well, you would just do several braids, French braid them as much as you could and then braid the rest and weave the little beads in there and whatever. And, they attempted to do it at home, but it was a mark of, hey, our aesthetic is being appreciated by everybody. This is great news. It wasn't a divisive point. As a matter of fact, it was a more unifying one, which is why this whole issue about cultural appropriation is bullshit, because it is a way to divide people. That's how cultural appropriation is being used. There is no such thing as cultural appropriation. This is just an excuse to keep people divided into little sections. That's
outrage culture. That's all it is. Bitch and moan. Well, I guess here's a good segue. Speaking of bitching and moaning, over in Europe, they're having a tomato feud. I'm letting that linger because that is actually happening.
Oh my God.
There's a bitch out going on between France and Spain over tomato imports. Apparently, in France, they're angry at the fact that Spanish tomatoes are being brought in, and they do not live up to our standards. These tomatoes are not fresh enough. I mean, wow. Part of this is, of course, it's like I don't enjoy fresh tomatoes. That's just not my thing. I got no interest in them. Tomato sauce, tomato paste, all that cooking gas, fine, no problem. But like a fresh tomato, freshly sliced, oh yeah, that useless. Put that on my burger, it's in the wrapper. I'm not eating it. Sorry, just didn't happen.
I'll trade you my tomatoes for your pickles. I'll trade your tomatoes for my pickles. Is that okay? Okay. Yeah. Noted.
I can pickles on the side. You can't have too many because then otherwise they compromise the flavor. They dominate too much. All you taste is the salt.
Oh my God! Stop being Epicurean. Go on.
Pardon me for being a foodie.
Whatever. I'm just sitting here drinking my
really
mojito.
Not. I'm just like, what I like, what I don't like. Like fried pickles, holy crap, stop it. That's like deep fried salt. That's all that is. Not a problem. I mean, I can do pickles. Give me bread and butter and just enough, not too many, then we're good. Okay, then it's solid. No, in France, they're actually bitching and moaning about Spanish tomatoes. And the Spaniards are like, well, you people are heathens. We have nothing but sunlight here. Our tomatoes are the freshest and biggest and organic and everything. This is literally a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for reasons that I can't really fathom and you mostly don't really care about too much, this also involves, for some reason, the grape growers. So I'm thinking this is more political than it is actual outrage over the product. But the French environment minister, I should say,
no one that there's a minister for this.
Former French environment minister. She's running for the actual presidency in France right now. And she's the one kind of sparking this. And she has slammed Spanish tomatoes, calling them inedible.
I mean, because, of course, I'm drawing a blank here. It's a tomato.
This is her critical analysis. Have you tasted the so-called organic Spanish tomatoes? They're inedible. Spanish organic is fake organic.
First of all, we have issues with the term organic. Everything is organic, literally. Organic means it's carbon-based. So I think they mean like grown out, without the use of conventional means, like pesticides and shit like that. So I get it. I deal with the terminology, but how can you possibly say that something as inane as a tomato tastes bad? I don't understand that.
But this is what cracks me up now about Europe, because it's everybody, I guess, is so close and they have all this interchangeability and all the bitching and moaning between them all. There's an Organic Farmers Association from Spain that has lodged a formal complaint against France in Brussels.
Oh my God.
So now we've got 3 countries involved in this tomato upheaval taking place.
This is going to be known as the Great Tomato War, isn't it? I mean, from my understanding from what you told me is that she's mad about it. It boils down to the wine thing. The wine issue.
That's the thing. I'm going to see if I can bring up this photo. Wine growers in France have apparently gotten involved here. Because, of course, they have. Because we all know the vital role tomatoes play in winemaking.
Yep, absolutely none. But okay.
They have actually, there's a photo along with one of these articles where they've stopped the truck, gone inside, and taken out the cargo, which is boxes and boxes of tomatoes, and dumped them out on the road in protest. Because no way are we going to allow these Spanish tomatoes to be in our French wine, I guess.
Yeah, apparently this wine tiff is really getting out of hand, because if it's now bringing in a different fruit, then there's an issue. Tomatoes have absolutely nothing to do with wine. Nothing.
My point. I'm like, what?
I know. I mean, why bring the tomatoes into this? Because they want to hurt the Spanish economy. Because the Spanish economy, Spanish wine makers are hurting the French economy.
Okay, but still, you're winemakers. What do you give a rat's ass about tomatoes?
It's not about the tomatoes. It's about just hurting the economy of Spain. The tomatoes just happen to be an innocent bystander. It could have been cabbages. It could have been okra. Okay, it has nothing to do with the tomatoes themselves. It just happens to be that I guess tomatoes are a well-established import into France, and so it's a good target, I suppose. But it all stems from the fight they're still having over Spanish wine being imported to France. So,
okay,
I'm just going to take these tomatoes and just slam them into the ground. I don't get it either, but nobody has ever said that the French make sense. No one. If you
outrage winemakers, your tomatoes are not welcome here.
Seriously, if you were to look at how hollandaise sauce is made, how the French came up with that, you'd like, oh my God, the amount of bacteria that could grow in that is just tremendous, and yet we still eat it. you know.
What do they make it with that's got bacteria?
Well, the raw egg, the cream, the fact that it's at room temperature, you know, nothing is tempered, so it can be a breeding ground for bacteria if not handled well, not handled correctly. So.
And this is where I'm going to really call bullcrap on this outrage, quote unquote, from the French.
Look at all that.
Because I've had people tell me they've gone to France, like in the grocery stores. And like when we go to the produce section, you know, you see tomatoes that are still connected on the vine. And that's like denoting how much freshness it is. You know, oh, this is a fresh cut. In France, that's considered outrageous.
Yes. And if you go
they prefer frozen. Because that's truly fresh. It's like, what?
Yeah, they prefer frozen vegetables over there. They think that is fresher because you have been picked at the peak of freshness and then frozen. So they honestly believe that will keep the freshness. Not understand
that you're holding freshness in your hand. It's right there.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started. You cannot. When you go shopping in a farmer's market, like in France or whatever, you are not allowed to touch anything. You point to what you want and then they'll get it to you. Same thing in Germany. And it drove me nuts because not being able to speak German at the time, I would point and they would rattle something off and I'd be like, I don't understand. I want this one. And I would literally point to one thing and they'd pick something else. I said, no, this one. And I mean, it was like they did it on purpose because they knew that I didn't know German. By the time I left, I pretty much knew some German, so I was able to handle myself at the market. But you are not allowed to touch any of the produce, ever.
Look at these crude Americans. They're thumping our melons. What is going on?
Yeah, oh, my God. Yeah.
Let me just warn you, Frenchie, I'm grabbing melons when I'm over there.
Yeah.
Right?
So to have these people actually take those things off the truck full of tomatoes and throw them, that's what's worse is the fact that they actually touch them, not that they threw them, believe it or not. The French was like, oh my God, they touched them. I mean, the whole thing is rude. Regardless of if any tomatoes survived the onslaught being thrown into the gravel or the asphalt or whatever, nobody's going to touch those tomatoes again. They're just going to be like swept away because you're not supposed to do that. So this was a complete waste, and it all stems from this stupid fight that they have over the wine. And just to catch up, everybody. Spanish winemakers have been importing to France their wine. And because it is considerably lower in price than French wines, the French winemakers have taken a hit monetarily. But keep in mind, this is a socialist country, so it doesn't matter if the winemaker doesn't make as much money as predicted. He still owes the same amount to the government. So regardless of how much he makes, there's a minimum that he has to pay the government. Even if he doesn't make enough to cover that minimum, he still has to pay that to the government. So,
jeez.
Yeah. So and this is why the French winemakers are mad, because here comes Spanish wines, which they consider inferior because they're French. The French always consider any wine that's not French inferior. I mean, Don't even get me started on the whole Franken wine shit, and everything. But to have French countrymen actually buy Spanish wine because they can afford that bottle more than they can afford an actual bottle of French wine, even with the import taxes, that should tell you something. That should tell you a lot. So, I always make fun of the fact that Charles de Gaulle had a saying, how could you be expected to govern a country that has 240 different types of cheese? Well, don't even get started about the wine in France. My God, it's even worse. So I get what the French winemakers, why they're unhappy. But the truth is, if they're unhappy, they should take it up with their government, because their government is the one that's allowing the Spanish to be imported. It's not like Like Spain is sneaking wine in the middle of the night
exactly.
to all of these bars and stocking them and removing the French wine, okay? They're actually targeting the wrong people. They should be targeting the government, but
So
nobody
you're
ever
telling
accused
me
the
the
French.
government has involved itself and screwed things up.
Yeah, and so now you have the former
Never
minister
happens.
of environmental issues or whatever she was called, and now she's running on that platform. And I'm like, you're part of the problem. You're part of the people that did this. But the French don't see it that way. It is.
I just hope
Yeah,
like her
and Rex.
campaign buttons or something like that has tomatoes on it.
Yeah, and Rex will tell you the same thing. It is amazing how these people don't see the taxation in their own country, because unlike here, where we are required, the government requires you to, show all the taxes that you're incurring when you're purchasing something. Just you go buy a $25 item, you end up paying $27.05 if you're 8.25% taxation. Over there, you see an item that's €15, you pay €15. But what you don't know is that item probably costs €6. The rest are in taxes. It is, the amount of taxation over there is ridiculous. And so the French they never see it because they just pay that fixed price. It really is and when you try telling them, it's like, yeah, well, all these hidden taxes. What hidden taxes? We don't pay hidden taxes. Really? What do you call this? The VAT form.
Yeah. Well, there was something similar taking place in Seattle. Did you see this one?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, let's fix a problem that's not a problem. So this stems just off of the same stuff we saw with California, where they wanted to unionize the Uber drivers because we wanted to get them a better wage. No, they didn't. This was all about unions. So in Seattle, they came up with a brilliant plan. We're going to help the Uber Eats drivers is what they were going for. We want them to make more money. So they imposed a mandatory $5 fee on any orders. So if you, let's say you order a sub, you're working out of the house or something, you're busy. Yeah, just send a sub on the Coke, $12. That'll be $17. Wait, what? So it was just a mandatory upcharge on any order.
So who's going to order? I'm not. I wouldn't. Would you?
And again, this was all done because, we care about the workers. We want the workers to get more money. As a result of this ordinance, sales figures plummeted 50%, 50%.
Holy shit.
Like, the market just completely disappeared. And now the Uber drivers that they were helping, in quotation marks, are struggling because they can't make enough money to even pay for rent now. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you're going to help the workers, should you not maybe consult the workers about this? Or did you just say, no, it's going to be super and people are going to pay? They said this about McDonald's. They said this with the $15 minimum. Now in some areas, $20 minimum wage.
And those areas are getting kiosks pretty soon.
They're getting, ordering kiosks. They've trimmed their staff. And now McDonald's is dealing with the fact that people are posting images of like buying an Egg McMuffin for $7.50. And it's not like a lie. They post the receipt. And like, I literally got an Egg McMuffin and a coffee. It cost me $9.50, $9.75 or something. And, McDonald's is now having to deal with this. They're like reacting and saying, we'll fix this. Well, how? Their employment is an upfront cost. They have to deal with that. That's just a reality anymore. And so, I don't know if you've ever seen those videos of the robotic kitchens they have they're creating.
Oh, yeah.
To actually, they're making burgers with robots. There's a company out there that does it. It's like a large swing arm, and the base of it slides back and forth, but it'll sit there and put burgers on the grill. It'll flip them. It'll create the hamburger, and you are basically having robot food.
Well, on the upside, nobody's going to spit on your burger. So there's that.
That's true. Yeah, it's going to be...
I'm a Pollyanna. I look for the good in everything.
As you should. But like the sequel to that movie, Waiting, is going to be Tron 3, I think.
Yes.
Could be a crossover.
That would be epic. I would pay to see that movie. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Tron 3, burgers to go. Something like that. The thing is, people like yourself and myself are the voice of reason. We point these things out at the table when this is being presented for the first time. Like, you know what would be a good idea? No, that's a dumb shit idea. Don't do it. And then they go ahead and do it. And lo and behold, look what happened. It's like, wait a second. You mean the thing we told you was going to take place took place? And you were surprised. Okay.
This is the one thing that politicians on both sides, but mostly on the left, but both sides, to be fair, forget about human nature. They honestly think that they can predict it. You can't. First of all, you should not predict human nature because everybody's different. But on top of that, herd mentality plays a lot into it. And the amount of times that they overestimate how human beings are going to react to some government dictate to me, it's amazing how many times they have failed. This is just the latest example.
Well, the thing is, they always go into these processes with static mindset. If we do this, nothing else is going to change. So therefore, if a restaurant is found, they had $1 million in profit, they can afford this.
Mm-hmm.
And they act like the company is just going to say, I'm paying my employees $8 an hour. Now I have to pay them double. I'm not going to change my prices to adjust for that. I mean, this is how a politician does not think. Because first off, your most expensive line item as a company is always employment. Your workers are always the top expense. And then everything downline from that. But you're going to double it and think everything's going to stay the same. Assholes.
It's amazing to me. No, not really. It's always predictable. We both know that.
But then they're going to move and pass that on to the customers. The customers are going to absorb this at first and then say, what the hell am I doing? I ain't spending this much for this crap. And then they make adjustments. And it's just always the case. I mean, look at California when that one asshole local politician was unable to tell his kids no. Every time I drive by McDonald's, they demand we get a Happy Meal so they can have the toy. The problem is McDonald's offers toys.
Yeah.
No, the problem is you're not listening or unable to tell your kid to shut up. You're going to go home and have a sandwich. You can't say that. It's McDonald's fault. So he punishes McDonald's.
Obviously, he never watched Eddie Murphy. I can make it better than McDonald's. Remember that skit?
This don't taste like no McDonald's.
This don't taste like McDonald's. And we're amazed that, damn, Mom's hamburgers were actually a lot better at McDonald's.
But see, this is why I love that story so much, because A, it started with stupidity. B, went into effect with all kinds of assumptions, and then C, the marketplace adjusted accordingly. So they said, in San Francisco, McDonald's can't give away Happy Meal toys anymore. That'll fix their wagon. And then McDonald's was like, okay, we'll just charge for the toys. And then the customers were like, wait a second. I was going to spend $4.50 to get a toy, but I could spend $2 and get the toy and not the food. And they're like, yeah, because the toys cost us about 10 cents. So people would go to McDonald's to buy the toy itself, including, I'm sure, the asshole city planner who, like, what do you mean they didn't get rid of the toys? It's like, you said they couldn't give them away. So they're selling them, and now they're selling more of them, and turning a profit in the process. Why didn't we think of this before? So, yeah, the very intention he had, he got pissed off about.
When the first mini Thai Beanie Babies came out with, like, as a McDonald's toy, and everybody was buying Happy Meals. They didn't want the Happy Meals. They were feeding the homeless all of these Happy Meals. Seriously, the homeless were actually camped out in the parking lots, McDonald's, waiting for people to just, here, have the Happy Meal. I just wanted the Beanie Baby. And it worked. I mean, seriously, the homeless were being fed because people didn't want the food. They just wanted the damn toy.
Right. And that's, again, human nature moving the tide, not the other way around. The only thing I saw that was better than that, along the same lines, was when I heard the Girl Scout that would go outside a dispensary to sell cookies.
Oh yeah, that was a business.
That was upper level thinking right there. Well done, you.
Oh yeah.
And I will say that at our local tavern, the girls are out there too. Go there at happy hour on a Friday, and I'm telling you, the guys are just like
hand over fist, man.
Well, they go out there to get the cookies to try to curry favor with the barmaids.
Of course.
And the barmaids are just like, oh my God, I'm going to be such a fatty. I can't. So then there's all these cookies all over. So everybody in the bar is eating the cookies. It's pretty amazing, actually.
My best cookie story ever. I'm flying to DC and I'm taking 2 boxes of Thin Mints with me in my carry-on. And I get pulled over by TSA. There was some kind of explosive residue that showed up in the x-ray. I'm like, what? Yeah, we have to search your bag. I'm like, what? And the guy's like really calm. Is there anything in here that could possibly puncture or hurt me in any way? And I'm looking at him going, well, my makeup bag only has this, that, the other thing. I don't have any heeled shoes. I actually forgot my hairbrush. So no, there's nothing. And he's in there digging. And so he's swabbing and he finds the cookies, because they are at the bottom of the bag. And he pulls them out, he swabs them, and they're positive. And I'm like, I have no idea why these things would be positive for explosives. And he's like, well, I may have to confiscate these. And he's just smiling at me, and I'm like, no, you don't. But it was kind of scary there for a second, because when they told me that I may have explosives in my bag, I was like, how? It's a Vera Bradley bag.
No, he's got a little button on the side of his device that'll go off automatically when he hits it.
Yeah, so I was just like, okay, so this was a ploy to get my cookies. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
These are a gift for someone. They're staying in the bag. But I don't normally buy any Girl Scout cookies anymore because for one thing, I'm so remote. But for another, I used to be a Girl Scout troop leader, and I'm just like sick of them.
Yeah.
I'm just so done.
I don't know if you remember Pierre Salinger. He was on ABC News for the longest time,
yes.
but he came out of the JFK administration before. He was like part of the international team.
He was a very respected reporter until the whole TWA 800. And he subscribed to a conspiracy theory over it. And so his reputation was...
fell prey.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that he was right or he was wrong. I'm just saying that, unfortunately, you know, his reputation suffered for it. But
well, that was back in the day when journalism had accountability.
Yes.
Like these days, people would be like, "Oh, it's Pierre.
Well,
we'll see him tomorrow."
Yeah, let's not forget the same. Look who MDH 370, who said that went into a black hole or something.
Yeah,
who was it that said that? And he still had a job.
Don Lemon.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, the zombie flight. But Salinger he was working as an international attaché of some sort. And this was at the time when the Cuban Missile Crisis sparked up and then tensions with Cuba. And then they put the embargo on it. Well, he was coming back from Cuba at the time. Probably had 5 or 6 boxes of Cohibas.
Really?
And, he wasn't thinking about it, but he was coming back. And then they said at customs were like, whoa, because of the embargo, you can't take these. He's like, what? Oh, you're kidding me. He's like, yeah. They said, unfortunately, these are part of the embargo and you're not permitted to take them. He's like, damn it. What are you going to do with them? He's like, well, sir, we have to destroy them. And he looked the guy in the eye and nodded. He's like, yeah, probably one at a time.
Mm-hmm. Did I ever tell you the craziest law story I ever heard about cigars? It was a lawyer. He's from Massachusetts, and he had bought some really expensive cigars. I don't know if they were Cuban or not, but they were very expensive. And he had them insured. So he smoked them and then, filed an insurance claim because they had been destroyed by fire. The insurance claim sued him back for arson, and they won. And it was an epic case. I have to look for it, but I was just I was dumbfounded because how did a lawyer not think that the insurance company would not countersue with arson? I mean, that would have been my first thing. It's but he set fire to them deliberately. That's arson.
Gotta say that's cagey. That's brilliant.
He tried to game the system and lost bigly. So anyway, but speaking of fire, I have a really cool story.
Is this the one that has to deal with your master's degree in people?
Yes. I don't know if anybody is aware of the Vesuvius Challenge. And what that was, it was a challenge to read these scrolls that had been discovered in a library. The library itself was called the Herculean Papyri, and it had been flash fired during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. And so I want to say 80 AD, 79 AD, around there. And
well, you can just say it, Aggie. Just say it. They were destroyed because of climate change.
Oh, stop. So the ash, the torrent of ash just basically rushed in there. It was so hot, it completely flash fired everything that was in there. In the 18th century, they're doing this excavation. They find these rolls, right? So they put the rolls away because they figured, well, they're all basically carbon. They've been burned and everything. And you couldn't unroll them or anything. So they were just stacked away. So the challenge was to see if anybody could come up with a way to start reading what was in the rolls, to detect the ink in the old papyrus rolls themselves. And it was done in such a way that they wanted to keep this as open source as possible. So several little challenges were put posts throughout the year, with the last big prize, the grand prize, being for being able to detect the ink and make it legible. Like you could read the writing on these burnt rolls. And somebody finally managed. It was actually not one somebody, it was three somebodies. And the guys that won, and it was like $100,000. That was the price of winning this challenge. A Swiss guy who's a code guy, a SpaceX intern out of Nebraska, and a PhD candidate from Egypt in archaeology. So all three of these guys got together and figured out a way to detect the ink from the ash itself and actually start putting the words out there and read what was inscribed in the roll. And they want to say that this is actually an Epicurus library. So those not familiar with what that is, the Epicurean philosophy was about the joy of life. Really, you're finding joy in everything, and so and it's only been a little bit, like 5% of one scroll, and there are hundreds of scrolls. They're estimating thousands of scrolls because they just discovered there are 2 more levels that had not been previously found until about a couple of decades ago. So it is going to be an artist's task, but the key to breaking this was detecting the ink and making it legible. And these 3 guys did it. And it's
just badass that they can even do this.
Yeah, and it is amazing because 2 of them were winners of other challenges as well. And the whole beauty of the entire Vesuvius challenge is that the people that got together to do this wanted everything to be open source. So that's why they instituted all of these little challenges along the way to incentivize people to share with others. So the person that found this, okay, they won the challenge. Now it's open source. Then for the next challenge, you can use that open source in order to do your stuff. Right. So it went on and it kept building up. And it's like an inverted pyramid. The more you work, the more you contribute to this open source code. And it is all privately funded. This is not coming from a university. It's not a government grant or anything like that. It just started as crowdsourcing. And all of these people from all over the world just donate money for this cause. And the money actually goes to these prizes, to the challenges. And it is amazing to me because people from all walks of life want to contribute because this affects so many different levels. Like for me, my archaeological bone, it is completely tickled. Yay. The classicists, the Greek scholars, the people who are, do Epicurean philosophy to this day. Foodies, because that is one of the things that Epicureans loved was food. As a matter of fact, the part of the scroll that has been deciphered speaks about the possibility that do you enjoy food more because it's scarce or because it's abundant? Philosophical questions about the joy of food and everything. And so, there are famous chefs that have contributed to this. There are famous geeks, for lack of a better term, people who have made a fortune in code and open source. And Elon Musk is one of them. He's actually contributed to this. I mean, a lot of people are like this is such a big challenge that ultimately, when you look back and see how many steps have to be taken in order to complete one of the smaller challenges before you can move on to the next one, before you can even compete for the grand prize, it was incredible the amount of work that all of these people contributed out of their own knowledge, for the chance to win. But it was more for the chance to actually contribute, And so it is, for me, I was like screaming when word came down that somebody had finally figured out how to detect the ink. And now the next step is going to be to read, excuse me, 90% of that one roll. If they can get to that point to where you can read 90% of that roll, it'll be monumental. Why? Because the rolls were so tightly wound together. Keep in mind, they didn't have books then. It was just everything was on a roll. But these rolls were very long, okay? So they were tightly wound together. And when you see a cross-section of the actual roll via electron, microscope, it looks like tree rings, but very, very tight tree rings. So it's going to be very difficult to actually be able to decipher, because once you start taking, this is actually the reading, the 5%, it's over at the end of the roll. So when you start going around into the roll, there's going to be a lot of ink. And so now you're going to have to figure out a way to detect the ink on each part, each sheet as you go into the roll.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they can do this. It's amazing.
It's, it's amazing. The main subject of what has been detected is about pleasure, which is the highest form in Epicurean philosophy. So, and it's literally talking about food and music, and then it throws shade. This cracked me up because, it's at the end, it's like talking about how how some people just don't appreciate it, and I'm like, and I'm like, oh wow, this is like somebody's diary maybe, and I'm so in for this, because if that's what it is, I really want to know what's going on. I need to know this telenovela. But it is, to me, it's like, honestly, I think it's even bigger than Rosetta Stone. And that's saying a lot, because Rosetta Stone was the shit. And you and I both know that, how big that was. But this, I think, is even bigger, because if we could do this would actually give us so much knowledge about the entire works in that library. And there's some of it, you will not be able to do, like they actually, back in the 1800s, they attempted to unroll it and it just broke apart. So one of the rolls is completely lost. But they kept the pieces, they mounted the pieces. So the pieces are mounted and they are preserved. So we may be able to put that together and kind of read that, maybe. They don't know if all the pieces are there, but they're going to try and extrapolate and see if they can do that with that particular roll. But, everybody mourns the loss of the library at Alexandria, which did fall to fire. Here is an opportunity to actually be able to read first-hand accounts of daily life in that era. And it's mind-blowing to me. I mean, I remember when I read the Diary of Samuel Pepys, and I thought, wow, this dude, he can't write and everything. And it took me a long time to realize I'm reading a diary. I'm not reading a novel. It's totally different. The second time I read it, I was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. All right. But, it's kind of in the same part. So for me, this was like huge news. And seriously, I was like screaming. I was like so happy. I even called my girlfriend, who happens to be a librarian at one of the New York University, Brooklyn. And I was like yelling at her on the phone. She's like, okay, calm down. I can't understand anything that you're saying. You're way too excited. And I actually had to calm down, and I took time, and she was like, they did what? And she started screaming at work. So for her, it was a big thing too, because, not only was she a librarian, she's also an anthropology person like I am. So she was like, she understood the enormous value of what just happened. So we in archaeological geekdom are really, really excited about this. I think it's great.
I'm sure it's going to be quite a while before we have full resolution,
This
but yeah, it's
will,
pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, and I'm sure, but like this, there is a time limit. So the pressure to actually read at least 90% of that existing scroll within the next 10 months is that's going to be big if they
Well,
can manage it.
why is there a time limit?
Well, because it's for this year. So if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then there is no winner.
Oh, I see.
But
Okay, so just arbitrarily at the end of the year, whoever got
at the end of the year,
or if anybody did it.
If anybody manages to read 90%, they will get that particular, they will get the grand prize. Now, keep in mind, there will be other prizes in between. That's how they incentivize people to share their open source, so that,
Gotcha.
So that other people can actually use the open source, and it just becomes this huge library of open source for other people, and anybody can actually go online and contribute or read about it or follow it. It's just, this is all available for everybody to do. There are some of the people that work on it actually have their own little blogs, and you can contribute your thoughts, your ideas, to them. And, because they want this, they really do want to do this, to give this to the world. They see it as a gift to the world, to be able to read these, to be able to actually find out what was in this library. So it's a huge undertaking, and I do not see them doing this or completing this anytime in the next 20 years, but, it's a goal.
But they've made progress already. That's the amazing part.
Yeah, they have. They have made progress already. So it's pretty cool. Anyway,
well, you're bringing a high-minded archaeology information. I'm going to go into the environmental side of things now.
Uh-huh.
So over at the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, they've come out with a warning, and this warning has stemmed from a very extensive investigation that they've actually conducted. So the DEC in that area, combined with the Putnam County Society for the Prevention and Cruelty of Animals, and together formed a task force in which they would then begin surveillance operations in the area. And on December 28th, they spotted a bright red squirrel crossing a road.
Oh, what?
In Paterson, New York. And this has resulted in the DEC of New York issuing this statement. We've never thought we would have to say this, but please do not paint squirrels. During the surveillance operation, they started to hone things down when they spotted a few different color-hued tree rodents and narrowed it down to a suspect's home less than a block away from their surveillance area. And the individual was ticketed on numerous violations related to the trapping, transporting, and liberating of wildlife.
Okay.
And he admitted to this before leading to the citation. He was doing so in order to figure out which squirrel was coming onto his property and agitating his dog.
So.
And I just put the tweet in chat with the evidence that they have the actual traps and spray paint, so that they've pinned down that he's the individual putting Krylon on the
squirrels. That should be the name of a band. Come on, Rex. If Rex is in chat, Krylon
who'd they
squirrels.
Open for?
Yeah.
They opened for the Squirrel Nut Zippers.
Oh man, Krylon squirrels. I'm writing that down. That is too good.
And then I got one real brief news item to close things out, but it's show specific. Dateline, Syracuse.
Okay.
A fire broke out at a liquor store. Damaged some of the merchandise after breaking out. Fire department was called out and conducted an investigation and came to the conclusion that they suspect the fire was started by sunlight coming through the window, magnifying through one of the bottles, and causing the fire.
Oh my God. You're kidding. Oh my word.
There's still questions about this, however. They're trying to hone down if it may have been just the window or if it was passing through one of the bottles, which magnified the lens effect on the sunlight and caused it to burn, not unlike you might do with ants on a sidewalk.
I got nothing. Holy crap.
So yet another reason the temperance movement may reignite in this country.
Yeah, those bitches. All right.
The original Karens.
The original Karens, yes. All righty. Well, I guess that'll wrap it up for tonight's episode.
I believe so.
Okay, so Brad, take a deep breath and tell us where we can find you.
Well, I'm available on a daily basis at townhall.com with my media column there entitled Rift from the Headlines. I'm also a regular feature on the front page of Red State, where I've also got my twice weekly podcast called Liable Sources, delving deeper into the media mayhem of this country. Also, you can hear more of me on this network. I'll be here Thursday evening at 8:30 with Ordy Packard, as he and I will guide you through all the vital entertainment information on the culture shift. Alternate Thursdays, I'm here with Paul Young from ScreenRant.com as we delve into the dark side of Hollywood and bad movies on disasters in the making. And then every Tuesday, of course, you and I are here for the Cocktail Lounge for all of your leisure and frivolity and other cultural touchstones. And then if you need more of me than that, let's face it, you do. If you head over to Jitter, I am at Martini Shark. And how about yourself, Aggie? How can people find more of your magnificence?
Well, you can find me at Aggie Weekend and at Aggie the Barkeep. Those are over on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it now. 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday nights, doing the Cocktail Lounge with the Ever Suave You. Friday nights, also 8:30 p.m. Eastern, doing He Said, She Said, late with our great producer, Rick. Once a month. Last Wednesday of every month, we do Toxic Masculinity at 8 p.m. Eastern, and it's G, Ordy, Rick, Andrew, and myself, and we bring a babe of the month, and I serve the drinks. And Jeff and I have teamed up. We now have a new monthly podcast, Spirited Books. Our next installment is this coming Monday, so tune in for that. Also at Aggie Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you have a lovely evening.
Now go raise a glass and look at the ceiling.